You know, it's for the older people that my heart really goes out. You know, they started off, most of them, in mud huts. Most of them on virgin farms with absolutely nothing. And they built those farms up, slowly, gradually built those farms up. And they made them into something that was very productive, was very beneficial to the nation. And suddenly they had this situation where everything that they'd ever worked for was being destroyed before their very eyes. And I had so many old people who just broke down when they came to see me, and when I went out to go and see them, and they just broke down in tears because everything that they had ever worked for was just destroyed in a senseless, violent, brutal, horrible way, and lawless way. And they were gradually moved off their farms, one after another, and their pensions, everything was tied up in their farms. Every cent that they'd ever earned had gone back into developing their farms, to developing their workers' houses, to building schools, building clinics, building irrigation systems. And suddenly they were left with nothing. They didn't have a house, they didn't have an income, they were old, they couldn't get a job. They had no social welfare. And so we've tried to do whatever we can as the community for those old people. Many of them have ended up in old people's homes, and we've kept those old people's homes going as best we possibly can under the circumstances with so few of us left. You know, they're just for them to buy a loaf of bread now is a major thing.
This was your, that was a Tommy, that was right. No, but this was your mother. No, this was your aunt. My sister.
We had very little underground water, and we suffered badly in droughts. Otherwise, it would have been even more successful. Yes, well, my dad came out to Rhodesia under a British ex-service scheme to farm, and he was allocated a farm in Rusapi, which is about 100 kilometres towards Mtwali from Harare. Whether to call it Harare or what we did in those days. And it was a very tough time because they were out in, I suppose, probably about 18 kilometres, as we say now, from the town. No motor cars, all done with horse carts, and you know, they grew tobacco. It was very, very wild country. Plenty of wild animals, baboons particularly, very difficult to farm. They discovered that grapes grew very successfully there. They were probably the earliest grape growers in the country. I left school when I was 18 in 1942. I joined the army 2 weeks after after I left school. I was 18, just turned 18. We did our training, infantry training. They didn't know what to do with us. There were a lot of Rhodesians being wiped out at that time in the desert war. They were scared of getting a whole generation of us wiped out, so they kept us back. They said we couldn't go till we were 20 or something. So we did the whole of Italy, came back from the war about 4 years later, and I was allocated, as I say, I wasn't allocated, my dad bought the adjoining farm. He'd since moved from Selukwe to Chinoi, where I did my junior school. Then I went to Prince Edward while Dad farmed here. And he bought the adjoining farm, which I took over virgin, and built it up over, I'll say, 56 years, until in 2002 I was given 24 hours to vacate by the Mugabe government.
So you spent 56 years building from scratch that farm up?
Yes, from absolutely total scratch of nothing. It had the makings of a boundary fence and that was all. Yeah, it's been a tremendous life. Very, very lucky. Been a lucky person, nice kids. They're all helping us tremendously now in the hard times we're going through. Because when we left, we had to get rid of everything. Well, not everything, but the equipment. We didn't know, nobody could foresee we'd have a depression as bad as this. We were selling tractors. I think we had 5 tractors, at least 2 of them went for under $1 million. I mean, these things, we're talking about $1 billion or something for them now. And so we got out with what we thought would be enough money to service in our retirement. But we very, very quickly discovered that miscalculated with the devaluation going as fast as it did. Every year we say, well, it can't get worse. Every month, every day it seems to get worse. Whether you feel, Ben, there's a little bit of stability developing now, I don't know. My trouble is I'm a super optimist. Klaus, I've got a cup in my gun, and I've always been over-optimistic about everything. This is something I've got to guard against, becoming the opposite and being a total pessimist, which is, there's too many of them around for my liking. It costs a lot of money, to buy in the topsoil, sand and stuff and fertiliser. And we haven't really got the resources now. We're so thin on the ground membership, we've only got about 10 or 11 members now. And if it wasn't for the help we're getting from the club, we wouldn't be in existence. But the whole thing's going to rack and ruin. You can see, well, I played tennis with both. I did even in my early days. The tennis courts over there, all gone to rack and ruin. Nobody's playing tennis anymore, you can see it, eh? This cricket field 6 months ago was one of the best fields and pitches in Zimbabwe, and this just shows you how fast it can go down. The Africans took it over, they wanted to play cricket. We said, right, take it over, you've got to pay the club for the water and we'll cut it for you, which they did, but they didn't pay, so they stopped and the whole thing got reverted to veld. And this is what's happened to the whole of Zimbabwe. This is a classic example of what's happening every day in the country.
This is Dot Hill Garden Centre, but you can see it's become a bit of a yard for dispossessed farmers who have managed to get some of their equipment off and are trying to sell it just to be able to survive.
The government appropriated our farm in about 2001.
Yeah, about 5 years ago.
And it left us nothing except our furniture.
We had 2 houses, or a house and a cottage, both thatched, and they were both burnt down. Why, I don't know. I don't think it was an accident. I think it was deliberate.
Can you remember from what your father said what kind of country or place he moved up to? I mean, how did they live? Where did they live? Did they have to build themselves, or?
Yeah, they had to build themselves a little pundoki, a little pole and dog, as we call it. And then while they were living there, they then built a house for themselves.
They had to make their own bricks.
Yeah,